Right, I think we're recording now. So, welcome to our 8th annual Halloween season special. And this one's going to be a bit more thematic than the last ones that we did. So,
Thrill me.
exactly, yeah. So, the theme on this one, we're going to film a little bit of an intro here, an announcement as to what we're talking about. And here goes. So today's video, we're going to be talking about 80s horror. That is the theme for this series of videos. Any news, Cole? Oh God! Yeah, so obviously there's a lot to cover here, and we're going to do 6 videos, pretty much is the plan. So starting tonight, every night leading up to Halloween night itself, which is Saturday, obviously, 31st of October. So there you go. In this one, we are talking about 80s classics. We've got a few. We're not going to talk about exactly which ones we're going to do. We're just going to launch. Obviously, as a theme, that's it. So for this one, we're talking about, don't know which side I'm on, but Night of the Creeps.
Yeah, as people may have guessed from the Thrill Me reference.
Yeah, because this was one with Tom Atkins, who's a sort of B-movie actor from a lot of sort of 80s horror films. He was in The Fog, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah, he's been in a lot of things.
He did a few John Carpenter ones. I seem to remember he was in Escape from New York, but he was in this and he was really good. Pretty much like the kind of the main character. The actor in this, the main one, I knew him more from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Somebody Lively, what was his name? Jason Lively, and he plays the main character in this. I always felt this one is a lot, because you might notice there's a lot of 80s horrors and comedy horrors as well, things like Gremlins as well. They tend to lend back to the 50s a little bit, don't they? You tended to find that in the 80s. A lot of things that pay homage to things or remakes of things, there tends to be like a 30-year gap. So, like in the last sort of decade, we were getting remakes of 80s things, because obviously that's, or throwbacks to the 80s as well, like Hot Tub Time Machine, that kind of stuff. So this one tends to have a bit of a throwback to the 50s, I think. It was the 50s when it starts, isn't it? It's got that opening scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost got like the like iconic kind of like young teenagers in a car, like see something fall out of the sky, and
Like
then
the Blob.
killer monster strikes kind of thing.
Yeah, it was kind of a throwback to the Blob, wasn't it? And probably other stuff as well, but that was what made me think of it. And of course, they did a remake of the Blob in the 80s as well, because again, it was like that sort of 30-year sort of rotation that these things tend to get. I suppose it's because at that point, the people that were watching it as children 30 years later now have children their age that they were. I suppose that's kind of the thinking of it. But yeah, this one obviously brings it into the modern day, at which point the film was made in the 80s. And it's, how would you kind of describe it? It's kind of got like a bit of everything. It's like zombies, it's like aliens. It's almost even like a sort of virus kind of thing as well. Like a mixture of a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a very, in some ways, I'd almost say it's like a silly film, like almost like parody, but kind of not. It's kind of hard to like place it. So I say it's a good film. It was well worth a watch. It's not one I actually remember seeing kind of when I was a kid. So
Same, yeah. I'd only sort of more recently discovered it in recent. I've only seen it a couple of times, but yeah, very good one. Obviously, without going into too much into the plot, because that's not really the point of the video. It's more of a sort of retrospective that we've got here. There's also quite a few nods in this as well to horror film directors that were big at the time. Like a lot of the character names are named like Cronenberg, Carpenter, Romero, Raimi, all these horror film directors. I know a lot of those guys tended to work together on projects around that time as well. So this film is really kind of bringing it all together. But definitely sort of a cult kind of film as well, isn't it? This it's got more of a cult following than anything else. And it's directed by Fred Decker, who quite interesting guy. He hasn't really done too much in recent years. He wrote or partially wrote the Predator film from 2018. Was it? Was it 2018? I think it was, wasn't it? Not a very good film by any standard.
Yeah, this is not how you revitalize a franchise.
Yeah, and he also directed RoboCop 3, which wasn't very well received. So I don't think that did him any favors. But for a while up to that point, he was doing some very good stuff. He did Night of the Creeps. He did The Monster Squad. Those were two that he directed and wrote, I think, as well. I think it had something to do with Tales from the Crypt. I haven't seen that episode, and some other things. And House as well. Didn't he like write the first two or something? The good ones.
I can't think off the top of my head, to be honest, but could be done.
I'm just kind of going through IMDb here while I'm doing this, like looking at other stuff that he's done. But yeah, he's definitely a name within a certain sort of subgenre of 80s horror, like these movies that you tend to get. You'll see his name crop up every now and again. But like I said, I think RoboCop 3 was really the last one that I know of that he did until he kind of went a bit quiet. So it was just a shame because there's a lot of the stuff that he did was really good. Like I said, Night of the Creeps. I realise I'm talking on anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting because it is linked to two other films that I have actually seen that I hadn't seen this particular one. Based in this film, like the parasite gets into you by the way of this like weird slug-like worm things that get inside you and basically turn you into a kind of like zombie. And it's very similar to like a Cronenberg film from like the mid-70s, Shivers. Well, that's a bit more like a psychosexual things. It's like these parasites that get into them and like cause you to like go basically nuts, like rape and murder and stuff. There's also been a much more recent film called Slither, which was by James Gunn.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy guy.
Yeah, and that was a similar sort of thing. It was like a weird kind of worm slug thing that gets inside you and takes you over and turns you into a monster. Although this one was like definitively like there were alien kind of like weird shit that come from outer space.
Yeah. And this
I
film
kind of think one's probably inspired the other, and then some, kind of on and on kind of thing.
But this film doesn't really try to be something that it's not, though, does it?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, it's kind of interesting that people obviously have been inspired by other people's stuff and kind of like made it their own.
Yeah. Because what is apparent with this film is that there's a lot of good sort of talent behind it, even if they've not got the budget really to sort of do it justice. Well, then again, maybe that's a good thing because it shows more.
Yeah, because it seemed to lean into the kind of like cheesy kind of, effects and stuff. They didn't like shy away from like, really bad zombie effects and things.
Yeah.
Kind of like almost like Tales from the Crypt at times, like with what some of the monsters looked like when they were more like burnt up and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is all part of its charm. I'm not saying that like it's a detractor.
Yeah. No. I get what you're saying. Yeah, the actual Blu-ray of this, it was. I don't know if this is the same in other countries, but it was Eureka. I don't know which side this is on. Cause it's going to be a split screen, but Eureka did a transfer of this, and it's very good. They're similar to like Arrow Video, basically, and they put a load of extra features on here, and they present the film with really good picture and audio. It's got like a slipcase as well, so on the inside it's got slightly different, like reversible sleeve as well. I'm going to do left to right, like I said. I don't know which side of the screen I'm on or whatever. But and you get like a little booklet with it as well, which is really nice. Just going to show you right quick, like what you get there. And you get the DVD as well as the Blu-ray, which is a little bit redundant nowadays, but there you go. But definitely worth getting anyway. Even if you've not seen it, I would say blind buy this if you want to have a film that's sort of 80s and good, not like in the same kind of category, like I say, as Gremlins, where that was a lot more like larger budget. And it was kind of a Spielberg production as well. Films like this is a lot lower budget, not necessarily as much of a classic or recognised as a classic, but it's still very good. Tom Atkins is I say he's always good in stuff. Any film that he's in, he elevates like massively.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like super gross like a lot of modern horror films are like, you know, it's kind of fun effects, but not like super realistic. And I wouldn't say it was like super scary either. It's just more fun, if anything.
Yeah. So if you like films like The Lost Boys or Fright Night, that's another one.
I definitely put it in that sort of category. I think you've hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely check it out anyway. So we're not going to like announce like all the videos that we're doing, but we can say the next one that we're going to do that'll be up tomorrow night. It's pretty much in the same category, very very close to this one. We're going to talk about the Monster Squad, and that's by the same director. And I think that came out a couple of years after Night of the Creeps did, because when did Night of the Creeps come out? I think that was like 86, was it from memory? Yeah, 86. Mm-hmm. So the Monster Squad, I think, was like maybe the year after. I kind of put these two films kind of back to back because we watched them recently, didn't we? We kind of watched them like not in the same day, but you know, close together. It's kind of like you could almost have like a Grindhouse kind of thing with both films.
I mean, Night of the Creeps is very kind of Grindhouse, I'd say.
Yeah. Then you've got the Monster Squad, which is a little bit more family friendly. So you could have two together, and they both are quite distinct from each other. So unless you've got anything else to say,
no, that's it for me.
So yeah, so tomorrow we're going to talk about the Monster Squad. So for now, we'll just leave it there. See you tomorrow night. Thank you very much for watching. Right then, just a quick reminder that you can follow us on social media. Obviously the channel exists on YouTube, we've been going strong since 2013, but we also have presence on Facebook as well, where we occasionally post updates and news on there. We also have Instagram, we don't really use it quite as much, but you can always follow us there if you're desperate. But beyond that, Brandex reviews, news reviews and retrospectives coming out of the UK.